Hey guys, my name is James Walsh, and you are listening to the Wrestling Epicenter here on YouTube. I want to thank you for finding us. Please do me a favor and click that subscribe button and the notifications bell. If you get the chance on this video, click the like button. If you do, it'll turn blue. Check it out. Also, check out WrestlingEpicenter.com for all this great content available in MP3 format, our online store that'll keep us going free and clear, daily news updates, as well as all the information from the history of professional wrestling you could possibly ever want. Check out WrestlingEpicenter.com online right now. Without any delay, let's get to your interview here on the Wrestling Epicenter.
Welcome back to the interactive interview right here on WrestlingEpicenter.com, as we're now being joined on the Newsmaker line by a former WWE Tag Team Champion, the one and only Trevor Murdoch. How you doing, sir?
Doing great, James. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. It's great to have you on the show. We just had Lance on about a month ago, and a lot's changed for me personally since then, but I'm really looking forward to this interview, and Lance had mentioned that he'd like to have you on because he enjoyed the interview, so I'm glad you're with us.
Great. Thank you for having me.
All right. I guess the first question we got to ask you is what you've been up to since your departure from the WWE.
You know, right now I've been running on the independent and spending a lot of time at home with my boy. You know, when you're on the road with the WWE so much, you don't get really a lot of time to spend with your family. And I had my son and got my job with the WWE all in 3 months. So I was on the road quite a bit, through his first 2.5 years. So I'm really taking advantage of the time that I've got now and spending a lot of time with the son.
Absolutely. I guess whenever somebody closes the door, they open a window. So, you know what? It's a great opportunity there, man. All right. Well, it's great to talk to you. Now, we have a lot of questions here from our listeners, but let's start out with the bog standard question that I'm sure you've been asked a million times, and it's kind of the guaranteed question you'll get on the show, and that is, how'd you decide to become a wrestler?
You know, my brother and I used to watch wrestling when I was a kid. I remember on Sunday mornings, I used to get up. My brother used to wake me up, and we'd go watch world-class wrestling, watch the Von Erichs and the Freebirds, and man, those guys, I tell you what, I used to get fired up watching those guys because of the intensity, number one, but the crowd reaction and the crowd interaction was just amazing. And it seemed like the whole atmosphere of it was just, it was just, I don't even know what the word I could use. It was very intriguing, I guess. And I knew that once I got older that I'd like to give it a try. I didn't know if I had it to make it to be a wrestler, but I certainly wanted to try. And I had heard all these horrible, these stories about guys going through tryouts and people beating them up and just really putting them through the rigors. And I was like, well, I figure if I can make it through that, I think I'll be all right. And lo and behold, the dream of becoming a professional wrestler started.
Now, the question I have to ask you, though, is did you ever get a chance to wrestle in the old Sportatorium, or was that gone before you ever got there?
That was gone before I even got there.
Yeah, that's a shame.
I really, really wish they would have left that up because I think that's like a huge part of just wrestling history. And that would have been awesome just to, if anything, just to go into the arena and look around and just feel, what was there at one time, all the, the monumental matches they had in that Coliseum.
I mean, that place was an institution, and we've had a couple of the guys out of world class and girls out of world class, and all of them said basically that one of them was Black Bart. You probably remember him well.
Yes.
And he mentions that every day he goes by there, he's a truck driver now, and he still cries a tear every time he drives past what used to be the World Sportatorium. That's now just basically
isn't it an intersection now?
I believe it is, yeah.
Well,
that's terrible. No history.
No. And I mean, that's what, in my opinion, that's what I get excited about with pro wrestling is the stuff that did happen, stuff that, the magic that happened back in the day when wrestling was wrestling. Everything was focused on the wrestling part and the guys and the individuals in the match. The nostalgia, I mean, it's one of my favorite things to do is sit back and watch old tapes and just see what those guys did that worked for them and seeing little stuff that just people would watch and pay attention to and get excited about. You didn't need the lights and the smoke and all that. You just needed two guys that could work really well.
Do you think that style would work, though, today? Do you think the fans are too reality TV being what it is, and then seeing, bing, bang, boom, and not having any kind of attention span.
It would work today, but it would have to be, just like with anything else, times change, people change, things change. And I think that type of wrestling would get over if it had the smoke and the lights and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like anything else, you gotta, with time, you gotta change with the times.
Same.
I don't think the wrestling should change, but maybe everything else around it could.
Absolutely.
Now, in your opinion, what do you think would be the next direction for wrestling? Because a lot of fans have speculated what, after the Attitude Era and the Monday Night Wars, what's going to be the next big idea or the next big direction. In your opinion, where do you think wrestling should go?
Man, you know what? It's really hard to answer that question because I have no idea. I know that the more people I talk to, they get behind the matches when they are on TV. You know what I mean? Most of the time, everybody's talking about the match that went the longest. And it's not because it went the longest. It was because they had time to get involved in that match, to make themselves a part of that match. Where nowadays, most average matches are going between 6 and 10 minutes. And that's, even 10 minutes is quite long.
Yeah.
And, people want to get involved in wrestling. People want to watch the match. They want to get behind, the good guy, the bad guy. They want to be involved, but they can't. They can't involve themselves in 6 minutes. So I really think that if the wrestling, I think the more wrestling they put on TV, the longer they give these guys to go out and tell a story, the better the business will be.
I tend to agree with that. Now, you mentioned being influenced by people like the Von Erichs and the Freebirds, and the Freebirds are obviously one of the most legendary tag teams in history. And you've kind of, most of your career on television anyway, have been associated as a tag team wrestler.
Yes.
Now, what made you decide to maybe go more towards the tag team instead of maybe going for the instant gratification glory of a singles wrestler?
I know when I was younger and I was watching wrestling, still today, I get more excited about tag matches than I do singles matches because it seems like there's a whole hell of a lot more going on. You can tell a ton of different stories you can tell in a tag match. And to me, that's always been like the meat and potatoes of a show. You have your singles matches and you got you guys go out there and talk and all that. But when it came down to the heart of the show, when people wanted to, needed to put time in, it was always the tag matches. And I always seem to find myself getting more excited about watching the tags and realizing I've been sitting there for 30 minutes, and realizing those guys have been in that ring going at it for 30 minutes.
Absolutely.
And guys like, the Freebirds, you bring those guys up, that trio, there was a little bit of something different in all three of those guys. You had Terry Gordy, who was obviously the muscle of the group. You had Michael Hayes, who was obviously the mouth of the group, and then Buddy Roberts, right?
Yep, Buddy Roberts, and later Jimmy Jam Garvin too.
Yeah, Buddy Roberts, he's the guy that pretty much got his ass handed to him.
Yep.
And it seemed like even though they were all one team, everybody kind of brought a little something different to the table, which obviously made those guys excited to watch.
Absolutely. Now, we mentioned this with Lance, but did you guys feel that there was kind of a glass ceiling for you guys, since you were obviously a tag team that wanted to be a tag team, or eventually wanted to be a tag team together and really click together? Did you guys feel that there was a glass ceiling? There's only so much success you can reach being a tag team? Oh
yeah. There was a huge glass ceiling, but Lance and I felt like we could break through that. Lance and I were a whole lot more than just a tag team, just two guys going out there. I mean, me and Lance are legit best friends. When we were on the road, we shared hotel rooms, rental cars. We thought that there was more to us than just a tag team. We figured that we could be a faction within the company. There was nothing wrong with Lance wanting to go wrestle if he wanted to do a singles match, or me go do a singles match, or if he wanted to go after a different title. We didn't feel like that should stop us because we were in a tag team. We just wanted to be a faction, a group, and that's what we were. We were the Redneck Wrecking Crew. I mean, there was nobody else that could, in the tag match, in my opinion, there wasn't too many people that could keep up with us, but we wanted to be more than just a tag team, and we figured if we could try to get that idea across, not only to creative, but to the people, that we would break through that glass ceiling.
Now, we asked Lance about this, but what do you think it was about pairing you up with Lance Cade that really made the tag team work? Because as fans, I think we can honestly say that you were one of the best tag teams in recent years in the WWE. In your opinion, what was it that made the team really click and really work?
Lance and I had a lot of the same goals, a lot of the same directions, and we both, I mean, that was something about Lance and I when we got together just clicked, and we put it out. I remember within the first couple of days of talking to Lance, him and I put it right there on the table. If you have any questions, if you have any worries, comments, any ideas, if you're mad at me about something, let's put it on the table. No bullshit. Let's just put it out there, get it dealt, get the situation dealt with, and move on and be successful, because that's what this whole thing was about, was being successful. So I think one of the things that made me and Lance such a great tag team is we were very open and honest and didn't bullshit each other.
Now, you guys, you were obviously had other tag partners as well. Many people might remember you in the early days of TNA, and now people say you're in ECW, but I've got to be honest, for the life of me, I can't remember. But towards the end of ECW, I think I was only half paying attention anyway.
The Dubs were in ECW. I wasn't in ECW.
The Dubs were, but you weren't. Okay. Yeah. That makes me feel a little better, because I was going to say I don't remember you. Sure. So you, early days of TNA, we got a chance to see the Dubs, and it was an interesting team. Now, how did your pairing with Lance Cade compare to being part of the Dubs?
Well, I had a lot more time with Lance to be more creative with stuff. In TNA, I was only there for the first 8 pay-per-views. But obviously, I had more time with Lance. I could be more creative and do different things with Lance. And also, too, with the Duff character, I was the hillbilly, the backwoods redneck. So it kind of pigeonholed me into so many things I could, there's only so many things I could do. Whereas with Lance, I could be more myself, and we could be more open and try different things.
Now, you mentioned the Dubs were in ECW, but you weren't in ECW. Was the Dubs something that you walked into, or?
Yes. TNA was starting. I was close friends with Ron Harris and Jeff Jarrett, and Harley actually brought in Jeff for a show for WLW. And Harley put me in a singles match with Jeff. I had a good match with him. And Jeff told me about them starting up TNA, and he wanted to know if I wanted to come down and be a part of the group. Of course, obviously. I was, yes, sir, of course. And they had Murray, and he was one of the original Dubs from ECW. And they brought Murray in. Of course, me being country, they felt like I kind of fit the bill. And me and Murray went out there and did what we did.
What's he doing these days, Murray?
Murray, I haven't spoke to him in a while, actually. Probably about a year. But last time I talked to him, he was teaching, and he was a high school wrestling coach as well. Getting married. I think he did get married. And having a baby.
That's excellent news. Good. Cool. Now, this is probably the most important question I'll ever ask you, but whatever happened to the Dub Cup?
I have no idea. I seen it that one night, and then it just kind of disappeared after that.
Isn't it sad when you lose family heirlooms?
Well, nothing you can do about it.
All right.
Well, one thing I want to ask you about is that, obviously TNA is still around after all these years, and, nobody thought it would last more than a few months, but it's still around. It's on Spike TV, and we asked this to Lance Cade as well. If you had the chance to go to TNA, maybe reform a team with Lance or maybe get a singles push, would you take that opportunity?
Oh, yeah, obviously. Yeah, I think TNA is a really good company. They've got a lot of great wrestlers. They're trying different things. They're trying to be new and inventive. Not to mention there's a lot of guys behind the scenes up there that know about wrestling. And I think it would be a great fit for Lance and I. And don't be surprised if eventually down the road within a year or two, you might see Lance and I there. But I know when I watch on Thursdays, and there's a lot of good competition up there. And I wouldn't mind getting in the ring with everybody up there.
Absolutely. I want to ask you a little bit about your names over the years. Now, when you worked with Harley, you eventually adopted the name Trevor Rhodes.
Mm-hmm.
And when you went to WWE, you became Trevor Murdoch. And a lot of people felt that you were Rhodes because you kind of reminded them of Dusty. And when you were Murdoch, you kind of reminded them of Dick Murdoch. What happened with all those names, and how did those names come to be?
The Rhodes gimmick just kind of, I was starting out in the business. I'd actually been wrestling for like 3 years before I met Harley. And just a little independent, really shitty company. And, I knew I needed a gimmick. I needed something to try to catch people's eye. And, I looked like Dustin at the time. I had the blonde hair. I figured it'd be a perfect fit. Didn't think nobody would care. So then when I went to Harley actually called up Dusty and, I got a kid down here calling him by Trevor Rhodes. What is it you call when you have a baby and you're not married? And Dusty, he's, well, brother, that'd be a bastard. He's my bastard son. And, Dusty was cool with it. I was okay with it, I was excited that Dusty was okay with it because, I represent Dusty Rhodes. And I went up to WWE. It was actually just, a fluke. They said that I thought I looked more like Dickie than I did Dusty. And I said, well, instead of making you Rhodes, we'll make you Murdoch.
Oh, that's pretty.
That's pretty much how it went.
I kind of figured that was it. Now, I got to tell you, when I was getting started doing this back in '03, there was a guy who would send me some of the WLW TV tapes and things like that he would get from the events. And not the guy who sent it to me would swear up and down that you were Dusty's actual son. So people bought the gimmick.
Well, I'm glad. They felt like they were getting a little bit more for their $5 or $10 they were spending. But I wanted people just to pay attention to me. Once I got their attention, I'd do the rest when it came to my work.
Now, let me ask you this, because your style and your look is very different from what is typical in the WWE. They like the muscle man and all that, and you're obviously athletic looking, but you're not cut to ribbons and things. You're more of a wrestler look. Did you think that maybe that would set you aside from the rest of the WWE crew, or did you think that would hinder you?
I've actually thought it would do a little bit of both, because just like in any situation, they have to evaluate what's best for this situation. And I thought, if anything, with the way I looked, it would set me apart that, this kid's out here busting his ass. He's not on the juice, obviously, but he still can keep up with everybody. But I'm also smart enough to know they like guys with bodies.
Yep.
And the guys with bodies are probably going to get more airtime and more TV time. And I was just hoping that I'd be able to eventually, my talent, my ability would push through that.
Absolutely.
Well, one thing I wanted to ask you about is that on WWE.com, they had you working several skits doing movie reviews and stuff like that unfortunately never aired on TV. How'd you like doing those skits, and why didn't they ever put them on TV? Because I thought they were pretty entertaining.
I had a great time doing them. It was just, Trevor, let's show some character, be a goof and have some fun with it. And that's what I did. I tried different things and seen where I could go with it and seen what would come up, see what would happen. But it just never seemed to be, I guess, for powers to be, there just never seemed to be enough room on their programming for the 60 seconds.
Now, which were you trying to do a little bit more? Was it supposed to be maybe a little bit more Deliverance, or maybe Larry the Cable Guy?
Larry the Cable Guy.
Larry the Cable Guy. Okay, so the Deliverance stuff was not taken. No. Okay, good. All right, because that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this here: we're watching Raw, and Lance is on the mic, and he says the band is back together, and half the crowd is like, "When did they split?" What happened there? Why did you guys split, and what happened that basically didn't make it work the first time around?
For some reason, Vince felt like he could do more with us as singles wrestlers than we could as a tag team. So, just on a whim one day, Vince said, we're going to split them up and see what they can do. And, Lance and I were just getting comfortable with ourselves as characters and as a tag team, and then we were split up and we're all by ourselves, and it made everything really uncomfortable, and there was no easy transition. But you know, it came down to after about 6 months, Lance and I were better as a tag team than we were as singles, because we needed to get comfortable with ourselves before we were able to do any of that. And they didn't give us a chance to. Once they put us back together, though, we were able to find ourselves, and as you've seen after that, everything kind of went up from there.
Absolutely.
I apologize for such short answers. I've been sick all day, and I'm trying to fight back the old stomach flu. So.
Well, it's that time of the year.
Yeah.
I just got over a cold myself.
No.
I'm still there. I'm just afraid I'm going to have to keep running back and forth to the bathroom. But
well,
that might be.
What I'm doing right now.
There you go. All right. Let me ask you this question here. This is actually sent in from the forums. They wanted to ask you the singing cowboy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you guys started splitting up, you started doing the singing and making. Forgive me, because Patrick probably knows who it was, but I don't follow country music as much as Patrick does. Pat, what song was he singing?
You know what? I don't remember.
Okay. Help us out here, Trevor.
I don't know. I mean, what situation are you talking about here?
Well, all I'm saying is you started singing. You started playing the country, the singing cowboy right at the end of the tag team run. Now, how did you enjoy doing that? Because I think Lance had mentioned that he wasn't that crazy about it.
I liked the idea of it. I was the one that pitched it to Vince. It wasn't really an idea, but I liked to sing. I liked doing karaoke. I knew they were splitting us up, and I told Vince that this is what I like to do. I went into his office and I sang for him. He thought it was great, and I said, I don't know what you can do with it, but you know, if there is, please, let's do it. And he said, no problem. And you know, I had a good time doing it. I just wish I could have sang more songs that I enjoyed and that I wanted to get my point across. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you think you could?
I don't want to start. I'm sorry, James. I don't want to start a feud with you and another WWE superstar. But who do you think is the better singer, you or Jillian Hall?
Come on, bro. I got her beat hands down.
Now, did you ever think that maybe you would go anywhere like maybe towards the Jeff Jarrett "With My Baby Tonight" kind of thing? Or?
A little bit. I didn't want to go hokey.
Yeah.
You know, but I wanted to be a legit. You know, I wanted to see if I can try to, you know, cross brand WWE and the country music. You know, I really thought, and I still think that there's an opportunity to do that, and there's a place for that. There's a, you know, when you say country, folks, and you say wrestling, well, they're pretty much two of the same.
Exactly.
You know, so I really thought that would be a really good fit, but I just never got enough time to really make it work.
And that is a very interesting point, because while I'm more of a rocker guy, Patrick is more of the country music fan here, and I can tell you that most of the South states is where the WWE draws the best, and I don't understand why they don't, you know, they constantly are doing things with rap and with, you know, whatever's hot at the moment, but they very rarely do have the pay-per-view themes be a country song or anything along those lines, and I think it would be it's a missed market.
Well, I thought it would work, and a lot of people around me thought it would work. I just don't think the powers to be thought it would work.
Oh, well. And if they don't think it's going to work, it's not going to work.
That's right.
Now, you guys split, and it seemed like, well, maybe we'll get a couple of really good pay-per-view matches here. And then the match happened just on Raw, and you were immediately moved to SmackDown. And
yes.
Were you disappointed with how that turned out?
Oh, huge disappointment. You know, I don't know why the office didn't feel like there was, I don't know why they didn't feel like there was any reason to draw that out. Because to be honest with you, you know, the way Lance and I felt about it is we were the most dominant tag team in WWE. I mean, most recognizable. We thought of tag teams. I didn't care about SmackDown. I didn't care about ECW. I didn't care about Raw. People knew who Cade and Murdoch were.
Mm-hmm.
But the office obviously didn't feel that way. And they knew the draft was coming. And they had an idea for Lance at the time of going with Jericho and Shawn. And they just wanted him to basically beat me up. And he goes his way, I go my way.
Now, you mentioned they had a plan for Lance to go with Jericho and Shawn, but did you feel like they had any plans for you?
Yeah, I was going to go to SmackDown and start an angle with MVP. So I was totally okay with that.
Was it a surprise to you that they kind of just cut ties so quickly with you?
Oh yeah, it was a huge surprise. I mean, it was the day before 4th of July, and I got a call from Johnny Ace, and I knew when his name's popped up on my cell phone before, and I, no problem, picked it up. Hey Johnny, what's going on? We talked business, but for some reason, like I knew, like when his name popped up that day, I was like, ooh, something don't feel right about that one. And lo and behold, I called Johnny back, and he told me, he said, they're gonna execute their 90 days early out clause, and good luck in your future endeavors. I was completely shocked.
Now,
if anything, everybody knew up there, and I understand some of the fans, they like their guys, so they're very narrow-minded to a certain extent. But I know bottom line is when people watched me, they saw somebody get hurt. In my opinion, that's what you turn on the TV for. Is, to watch wrestling, to see somebody get hurt, to believe in it, to watch the guy that's in the ring, whether you love him or you hate him, but to believe. And I know that when people watch me, they believe something's wrong with this guy. They believe this guy was throwing the big boot and knocking people out. That's the one thing, like, I'm really proud about with my WWE experience and my time there, is that everything you've seen me do, it looked pretty damn legit.
Absolutely.
That's a realism that a lot of guys can't bring to the table. And I thought that was one of the things that helped make me stand out. That was one of the reasons why Lance and I never really got, we were, as a tag team, really never got drugged through the mud like most tag teams do. We were always kept strong enough to job out to the top guys.
Yep.
But we were, kept strong enough where we didn't job out to the bottom card guys, Highlanders.
What was that? You didn't like the Highlanders, or?
I liked them personally, but all of their, all their gimmick stuff, Lance and I came up with when it came to their moves and stuff in the ring, and I liked them personally. They're good guys, but you're working for the top company in the world. This is supposed to be where the best of the best are. Nobody else should be better than these guys in WWE. And they just didn't seem to want to put the effort forth needed to be the best in the ring.
Interesting.
Same way with the Crime Time.
You agree with? Oh, okay. Good. Somebody agrees with us.
Yeah.
Good. Because I don't see it. I mean, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I don't see it. I mean, maybe it's because I'm not the gimmick.
A great gimmick.
Yeah.
And they've been able to capitalize on a great catchphrase. But I've never seen anybody pay money to come see a catchphrase.
Not even with The Rock.
Not even with The Rock. There always had to be some sort of ass whooping behind it.
Absolutely.
And I kind of like Crime Time personally. I've got a lot of issues with the way they conducted business and stuff, but hopefully, they grew up and they still got a job, so obviously they're doing something.
Well, yeah, I'm glad that you said that, because I mean, it seemed like when you guys started having your feud when they brought them back, it was kind of like, it was obvious to me anyway that they were going to do something with you guys when they had them beat you.
Yeah.
That you were obviously on the way down, because if they're getting you a win over you, then you guys must really be on the way down.
Right. Well, the one good thing that Lance and I always felt good about is that Lance and I were trained, Lance was trained by Shawn Michaels. I was trained by Harley Race. We know how to take guys in the ring that aren't either green or aren't as talented or don't have as much experience, and we're able to get a good match out of them. I'm not saying it'll be 5-star. I'm not saying it'll be the best match of the night. But I am saying we would have a good match with them. And that was the one credit that I know that, Vince gave us, Johnny Ace, guys like Arn Anderson, Steamboat, Barry Windham, all those guys gave us credit for is you could put anybody in the ring with us, and we would have a good match with them. We could help carry them, even when they didn't know what the hell they were doing. We could make it look like they did.
Absolutely.
And that was the one thing that we did with Crime Time, and for a long time, those guys, those guys were, standing right next to us, and everybody thought they were great. But as soon as they put, you put them in the ring with Crime Time in the ring with somebody else, their matches went to shit.
I would agree with that. I mean, there was, I don't know if you saw Raw, but they wrestled Miz and Morrison, and there was some botched stuff in there. And I mean, I think Miz and Morrison are a good tag team, but I don't know. I didn't. They kind of look sloppy to me.
Well, man, there's a reason they're there. It may not be the wrestling, but there's a reason they're there. So, you can sit here and we can both sit here and point out a million bad things those guys do, but obviously they're doing at least one thing right.
Yep. Maybe selling merch or something. Who knows? All right. You mentioned Steamboat, and I'd be remiss not to do this, but we actually are building the website of Richie Steamboat and Ricky Steamboat right now, and Richie's down at Harley right now, working now at
No,
WWE.
he's actually in Noah right now. He's in the dojo in Japan right now.
Is he really? Okay. See, I'm out of touch here.
He's down here for 2 months, and then Harley was able to get him set up in the dojo in Noah, Japan. So he's currently over there for 3 months.
How do you like the way he's looking? Truthfully,
Richie?
Yes.
Yeah, Richie. I'm extremely happy with Richie's progress. He looks just like his dad. He works really hard. The kid's got he's got charisma. He's got talent. He just needs experience, and he's gonna get a ton of it. Being down there in the dojo, and I think just with time, Richie's gonna be great. He just needs time. He doesn't need to be rushed. He doesn't need to be pushed through the system to move up.
Right.
He just needs time for him to develop his skills and to come out of his shell, and that kid will be great.
I agree, and I think it's a good thing.
Well, it sounds like he's taking all the right steps.
Well, yeah, bro. A lot of guys in this business, they want to know how to get to the top. Well, if I've never been in the wrestling business before and I know nothing about it, in my opinion, if I want to get to the top, it'd be WWE. So of course, then I'd want to go to their camp to go through their school to get to the WWE. But in my opinion, the guys that have lasted the longest, the guys that have been out there that have just made it, have been around the world before they got there. You know what I'm saying? They trained with different guys. They worked with different wrestlers, learned different styles, different techniques. And before they got to WWE, they were already cleaned up, and ready to go for TV. And I think nowadays, a lot of guys, they want the quick fix and they want to get there as fast as they can, which I understand that. But I would certainly rather want to be trained right and know how to and become the best wrestler I can before I went to the top company. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I think a lot of guys are missing out hitting these small territories and doing indies and working with guys like Harley and stuff like that. Because, man, you can learn so much.
I think that's the benefit of Richie and Reed Flair now. They got fathers that are not going to really let them get exposed. They're going to make sure they go through it the right way.
You're right.
All righty, man. Well, I've got to tell you, I really have enjoyed this interview so far, and we're going to let you go soon because I know you're not feeling so well, and I'm not feeling that great, and I'm not sure how Pat's doing. But
I'm doing fine.
People might get sick just listening to us, but we'll try to wrap it up here real quick. But I wanted to ask you a couple word associations here. Basically, what I'll do is I'll give you a name, and if you want to give a story or anything, that's fine. If you want to give a word-worn answer, that's cool too.
Okay.
Here's an interesting one. I probably don't have much for her, but how about Puffed Up?
Excuse me?
The girl you were with in TNA, Puffed Up. There you go.
Worthless.
She stood us up for an interview, so I'm okay with that.
All right.
Back in the day.
She was worthless, man. She thought the show was about her.
Really?
No offense. You could put any girl in a tank top and cut off shorts, and they could have done the same thing she was doing.
So you never did well with the valets, or just not that one?
Just not that one.
Just not that one. All right. Let's see here, Pat. You want to take a couple?
Sure. How about, well, here's the obvious one. Your most famous tag team partner, Lance Cade.
Lance is solid, man. He's a good dude, and he works hard. I've never seen anybody as dedicated to the business as Lance. The guy is a phenomenal dude. He works hard. You can take him for his word. What he says, he means. Lance Cade, he's solid all the way around.
How about the current WWE champion, Jeff Hardy?
Jeff Hardy's great. I can't say enough good things about that dude either. I've never met a guy that's got so much charisma and just, I don't know, like he looks at life a whole lot differently than everybody else. And he's got a very carefree attitude. And when you talk to him, he never seems down. He always seems upbeat. And he works hard. He goes out there to make sure that everybody in the building has had a great time. And I think Jeff totally deserves what he's getting. And, congratulations to him.
Now, this is kind of a hard one because people seem to either love this guy or hate him, but how about John Cena?
I love John. If people got to know John personally, ain't nobody say anything bad about John. The people that say they don't like him are the people that are watching him at home going, oh, he sucks. Bottom line.
Absolutely.
People that are saying they dislike John Cena have never met him. I guarantee you. Because John, he's another one of those good guys that works his ass off in the business and is a freak of nature physically and is an all-around good dude. But I'll tell you this right now. Anybody says anything bad about John Cena, they've never met him.
Absolutely, and I've always made that distinction. If I didn't like a match he had or something, I'd say, well, maybe I don't like him as a wrestler, but the guy, any guy who can do the schedule he does, because he does all the media and all that insane stuff for WWE, and then manages to find time to do the charity work as well, that's a Superman for me. So he's a cool guy, even if I don't care for some of his matches.
I totally agree.
All right, and how about let's go to somebody interesting, and this is somebody that Lance mentioned you guys used to pick the brain of all the time. How about Arn Anderson?
Oh my gosh, a phenom, a wealth of knowledge, the Bible when it comes to pro wrestling. Arn was a tremendous help with us because I kind of put him and Harley Race in the same category. I've never met two gentlemen that can make me feel as stupid as quickly as those two can. And I'll explain because Lance and I would go to Arn and we would ask Arn, this is where we're wanting to get in this match. This is the direction we're going, but we have no idea how to get there. And Arn would come up with the easiest, most simplest answers for us to understand. And Lance and I would look at each other and go, well, we're idiots. And Arn, he knows what the hell he's talking about. And it seems like Arn has an answer for every question you have. Arn has never looked at me and said, you know what, Trevor? I don't know. He is, man, I love Arn to death. And in my opinion, him and Tully were one of the best tag teams in this business. And I think he is one of the most underrated guys in our business.
In the history of our business.
Yes.
Even being the biggest Hulk Hogan mark on the planet, I was pleased in '96 when I saw him get that win over Hogan because he deserved it. He earned it. If there was one guy who earned it, it was him.
Yeah.
I'm probably in the minority here, but I always thought he was the best out of the Four Horsemen.
Wrestling-wise, yeah, I think so too. I think when it came to the wrestling, yeah, I think Arn was, out of all four of them, yeah, he was number one. I don't think there was anybody in there. And no offense to Flair, but, we're talking about working. And Arn had the psychology. Arn had the physical attributes. Arn had the meanness and the aggression. Arn, total package.
Did Arn ever hit you with an I'm begging you?
A couple times.
Okay.
I'm begging you to knock the shit out of that kid.
All right. And how about, you mentioned him, and I think he's probably the toughest son of a gun that's ever lived. How about Harley Race?
Father figure. If it wasn't for Harley, I would not be where I'm at and have what I have today. Harley took a snot-nosed punk kid that said he wanted to be a wrestler and took him under his wing and put him through the rigors. And the whole time he was doing it, he was telling me I could do it, and he was working my ass off. I love Harley. I don't care who knows this, but I love Harley Race to death. He is the man. He's a wealth of knowledge. My son calls him Pappy. My son calls the king Pappy.
Absolutely.
If that says anything. I see Harley at least once a day, every day. And he was the guy I was calling when I'd have trouble on the road, too, and ask him for advice. He's always been there for me. I love Harley Race to death. He's the greatest.
Absolutely. How about, we're going to close out with just a couple more questions, but how about your former boss, Vince McMahon?
Diabolical genius. I think to one extent, Vince can be extremely out there, but on the other hand, Vince is a smart motherfucker. I mean, he comes up with some of the craziest ideas, but he knows that they will work. And I've never met somebody with so much conviction about anything as much as Vince McMahon is, because when he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. And I tell you, in this world today, it's really hard to make that, those statements. And he's a guy that goes out there and gets what he wants and doesn't care how he gets it as long as he gets it. And I know personally, my relationship with Vince has never been bad. I don't have too many bad things to say about him. And he's always been honest with me and Lance, and, always been up front, and his door was always open. I'm not going to sit here and bury it. If I had bad things to say, I would, but I don't.
Right. Lance had mentioned that you think you guys stood out from the rest because you guys were schooled early on to basically not be afraid of him and go talk to him, because a lot of guys didn't want to go talk to him.
Well, Vince is, he's the man. He can, hire you and fire you, make you a star, make you not, and that's intimidating. And you're right. Lance and I were taught very early on that he puts his pants on one leg at a time, just like everybody else. And we've always been told that Vince respects a man. And you can't be a man being scared to go talk to him. So Lance and I were never afraid to knock on his door. We were never afraid to ask a question. Even though we thought we might get in trouble, we were never afraid to do it. And we were always up front and forward with him. And I think that gained some respect in his eyes for us.
All right. Now, I have one last question, and I'll let Pat finish up if he has one last question as well. But this is the one that I always use as the closer. And basically, it's becoming our little our swan song question. Now, you were in WWE when we've talked a lot about making it believable. And I'll tell you a quick story. I went to an event once, and Benoit was on the card. And I actually sat there just out of curiosity on the bench as people were leaving. And people were saying, well, the rest of that stuff was BS, but that Benoit match, that was real. And I thought, okay, all right, well, I guess I get that part now. And basically, what was your opinion of the way that wrestling became even more than usual, the bastard child of entertainment after the tragedies that happened with the Benoit horrible incident?
I just think it was really easy for the media and for people from the outside looking in. It was very easy for them to point fingers at problems like steroids and drugs and make a huge big stink about it. It was very easy for them to put that label on pro wrestling because, people think, oh, jacked up guys, obviously it's got to be steroids, it's got to be drugs. If the media and the people would have taken at least half the time that they did degrading us and burying us and just look up some information and look into the background of certain things, they probably would have found out that things aren't really as bad as, the media wanted to make WWE to be. We work a long schedule, work a rough schedule, but nobody's pushed me into it. Nobody pushed Benoit into it. No, it's just a part of the business. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that, you get hurt, you get beat up, you're doing it at the very least 4 nights a week. There are going to be times that you want to take a muscle relaxer because your shoulder's hurting you or knee's hurting you. It's the nature of the business. People have got to understand that we put our lives on the line every night. We use our bodies as tools. Well, after a while, those tools get worn down. Mm-hmm. And they need help. And it was very easy for the whole media to take WWE and just, blackball it and say that it was, it was crap and that they were killing us and they were running us to death. I'm a grown man. I'm able to make my own decisions. And they weren't doing half the things that they said WWE was making us do.
So you guys on the road, basically having to, obviously probably having cameras in your face at the time and turning on Nancy Grace or whatever it was every night and having her blast you guys, pretending to be that she knew what she was talking about when she clearly didn't. Did that like wear on you guys at all, or?
After a while, you just don't give a shit. I mean, for real, because people are either gonna think one way or the other. And there's nothing I can do to change it except keep doing what I'm doing. And whoever comes up and talks to me and wants to know about it, I'll be extremely honest and truthful, as forward as possible. But there's nothing I can do. I'm only one man. And I ain't the only one dude,
Hey guys, it's James Walsh here from the Wrestling Epicenter. I'd like to thank you for finding us here on YouTube. If you get the opportunity, please click that subscribe button, as well as the notifications bell. This way, anytime that we upload any new content or new-to-you content from our archives dating back to 2002, you'll be notified. You can check out what we're up to. Please also check out www.wrestlingepicenter.com for all your wrestling news and information needs, as well as check out our store to keep us running free and clear. Without any further delay, let's get to why you're here. Thanks for checking out Wrestling Epicenter on YouTube.